Right, thank you so much. So we're having a little bit of difficulty po, no, because of an unexpected problem that we encountered. But nevertheless, we're very happy that all of you are able to join us for today's webinar po, no. And really, thank you for all of you who are part of our credible online community. Week in and week out po talagang nandyan po each and every week. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening po sa lahat. Saan mon pang panig kayo naroon sa mundo. Welcome to our 205th episode, the Health Updates Webinar Series. Thank you for being part of our credible online community. And to all those who have just discovered us today, welcome po at sana po marami po kayong matutunan sa araw na ito. Ang pag-uusapan po natin, something na very common in terms of a condition, but in terms of the population po na affected, hindi po siya masyadong napag-uusapan. Ang tinutukoy ko po, diabetes mellitus. It's a metabolic disorder characterized by hyperglycemia and posing a significant public health concern worldwide. So alam naman po natin, marami na po sa atin nakarinig po kung ano po yung diabetes, yung pong impact nito sa mga adults, very, very widely recognized, but the implications po nito sa mga bata have gained increasing attention. So for this week's episode po, no, we'll be discussing different aspects of diabetes in children, yung pong complex interplay of factors contributing to the development of both type 1 and type 2 in children po, no? Hindi po adults. So ang pag-uusapan po natin is mostly on children. We'll also be discussing yung pathophysiology po niya, ano po yung role ng autoimmunity, insulin resistance, and genetic predisposition. Pag-uusapan din po natin diagnostic criteria and diagnostic workup para po sa mga bata po na pwede pong may diabetes, para po ma-emphasize yung early detection and timely intervention. And hopefully we'll be able to equip each and every one of you with ways and knowledge and skills po, no, on identifying high-risk populations, implementing appropriate screening and diagnostic measures, and developing comprehensive care plans. I'm Dr. Raymond Francis Sarmiento from the University of Philippines. Always a pleasure to be with all of you during our regular Friday. And also my pleasure and honor getting to host this program with one of our constants po, no? And really, isa sa mga engines po that keep us going, Dr. Stella Marie Jose. Ma'am Stella?
Good afternoon, Doc Raymond. Welcome to our participants here in the live broadcast of the Zoom webinar and to all those watching via live streaming on TVUP YouTube channel, as well as the UP System Facebook page, TVUP Facebook page, and of course, TVUP Signal Channel 101. Our panelist for today is none other than the eminent pediatric endocrinologist, Dr. Sylvia Estrada, and our reactor is Dr. Angelica Tomas, one of the outstanding consultants of the Department of Pediatrics. Our new program is now called Health Updates. We have done a little bit of reformatting for our program, but we are still maintaining the same high quality, then leveling up to take a closer look at existing emerging health problems in the Philippines and in the rest of the world. For 2024, we want our show to be, we want our discussion to be immediately at the heart of the problem. And so our program is now shorter. So let's go back to Raymond. Raymond?
Thank you, Ma'am Stella. So, dun po sa ano natin, and we'll really try it if we can get this. We usually have what we call our person on the street video. But because of our technical difficulties, we'll try to ask our team if that's something that we can play po. No? But if not, then we'll just wanted to set our discussion into context and maybe explain to you the questions that we had prepared beforehand, and yung mga in-interview po natin, ang mga tanong po natin sa kanila are as follows. May kakilala po ba kayong mga batang may diabetes? Paano kaya sila na-diagnose? And ano-ano po ang kanilang mga ginagawa para magamot ang kondisyong ito? Ano-ano ang mga sintomas na dapat bantayan at mangangailangan na ng konsultasyon sa doktor. So those questions po, no, really we have been able to get feedback from them for the most part po, those who we are able to talk about. Hindi po nila alam na nagkaka-diabetes po sa mga bata. And I think that's something that we need to be able to illuminate and put a spotlight po, no, para po mas malaman pa po ng iba, ng makaramihan po na may ganoon pong kondisyon at ano po ang pwede nating magawa para sa kanila. So for today, just a little bit of housekeeping po muna. For all those who are asking, certificates of attendance will be given to those who have watched at least 50% of the webinar duration. And for our webinar for today, we'll be having a standard panel discussion format, which means we'll have two speakers, very, very excellent speakers po, no? And after they have presented, that will be followed by a Q&A session. So I think we're still having those technical difficulties. So we'll just go straight ahead po, no, to our webinar proper. Our main speaker will be introduced by Dr. Stella.
Our main speaker is Dr. Sylvia Estrada, who is the Chief of the Pediatric Endocrinology of the Department of Pediatrics. She is a graduate of the UP College of Medicine, Class 84, and is my classmate. Welcome to our show, Dr. Babu. So you can start your lecture now. Thank you.
So good afternoon to everyone. Thank you, Stella. Thank you, my classmate. Thank you for that very warm introduction and that nice introduction, Raymond. Sayang, wala yung ating person on the street, but
Yes,
hopefully we can do that later on, no? So good afternoon, everyone. Allow me to share my slides. I hope we will have a nice learning session today. So, ano bang pag-uusapan natin ngayon? We're going to talk about diabetes in children at pwede kaya itong maawat, no? So ito yung outline ng aking lecture. Sana hindi ko naman gagawin masyadong mahaba. Ang focus po tayong ngayon is type 1 diabetes. And we will go through all of this. Hope at the end of it, hoping that you would gather something that you can take home with you to practice in your own homes and also in your own clinics. So, ano ba talaga ang diabetes mellitus? Ito ay isang medical condition na yung blood sugar natin ay nakakataas sa normal range. Ito yung normal range natin. Ngayon, paano ba kinokontrol ang blood sugar sa katawan natin? May dalawang hormones, yung tinatawag natin insulin at saka glucagon, na siyang nanggagaling sa pancreas. So, how does it work? So, tuwing kakain tayo, gagawa tayo ng blood sugar. Kahit hindi matamis ang kinain nyo, gagawa pa rin tayo ng blood sugar. Bakit? Kasi ito yung gasolina ng katawan natin. Hindi tayo makakaisip, hindi makakatibok ang puso natin, hindi tayo makakagalaw kapag wala tayong asukal. Pero itong asukal na to, hindi pwedeng magamit basta-basta lang. So, kapag tumaas na ang blood sugar natin dahil kumain na nga tayo, ang pancreas magre-release ng insulin. Yung insulin, anong gagawin niya? Yung glucose, kukunin niya, sasamahan niya sa mga cells na nangangailangan ng asukal para ma-metabolize ito at gagawa ng energy. Para 24/7, nakakaisip tayo, nakakatibok ang puso, nakakahinga tayo, nakakagalaw tayo. So, by doing that, insulin brings down the blood sugar. Kung may excess naman, yung excess blood sugar na yan, dadalhin ni insulin sa liver at gagawing storage form, yung glycogen, para meron tayong pangreserba. Ngayon naman, halimbawa, nag-intermittent fasting kayo o kaya parang walang gana kayong kumain, huwag kayong mag-alala. So, low ang blood sugar nyo. Ang gagawin na naman ni pancreas, imbes na insulin, glucagon naman ang ilalabas niya. Si glucagon, anong gagawin niya? Katawagin niya yung ating reserba na glycogen doon sa liver. Tapos, magbi-breakdown siya, magiging glucose siya. Yung glucose ngayon, pwede nang gamitin ulit. Tataas na yung blood sugar. So, they try to keep it at a good balance kasi hindi pwedeng sobrang mababa, hindi pwedeng sobrang mataas. So, dahil nga doon nga ang sistema, sasabihin natin ang isang tao may diabetes kapag na-fulfill niya itong criteria na ito. So meron siya mga sintomas, ihi ng ihi, nauuhaw parate, hindi tumataba kahit ang takaw-takaw kumain, o kaya nangangayayat. Plus, pag chinek mo yung kanyang fasting blood sugar, hindi siya kumain ng 8 oras, nakakahigit po sa 126 at saka taas na milligrams per deciliter. O itong sintomas plus pag kinuha mo ang blood sugar niya, 2 hours pagkakain niya ay nakakalampas po sa 200 milligrams per deciliter. Meron din tayong isang criteria na ginagamit, yung glycosylated hemoglobin. Ito naman ang nagpapakita na in the last 2 to 3 months, paano nag-handle ng blood sugar yung katawan mo. So ang normal po dyan is hanggang 5.6 lang po. So pag 6.5 and above na kayo, diabetic range na rin yon, ha? So ilang tao ba talaga may diabetes sa world? Okay? Sa Southeast Asia na lamang, 75 million ang kanilang estimate or 8.3% of the world's population. Ngayon, itong publication nito, tumingin sila ng mga data doon sa global burden of diabetes of diseases in 204 countries. Tiningnan nila ang mga batang may diabetes ages 0 to 14 years old. Ano yung key findings nila? Nakita nila sa between 1.5 million children, meron tayong mga 200,000 na nagkaroon ng diabetes or roughly mga 15.5%, no? Ngayon, nakita rin nila sa pamamagitan ng estimate nila at saka yung plotting mula 1990 hanggang 2019 yung increase ng incidence ng diabetes from 9.3% umangat sa 11.61%. At pinaka-highest noon, nakita nila sa 5.9-year-old children, no? So, kawawa. Sa Pilipinas, meron ba talaga tayong diabetes? Tingnan muna natin, sa adults, among 66 million adult population sa Pilipinas, 7.5% sila may diabetes o 4.3 million. Unfortunately, ang data tungkol sa Filipino diabetic children ay kulang po. Wala po tayong recent data. Pero masasabi ko po sa right now, meron kaming fina-follow up na mga diabetic sa PGH na endocrine clinic, around 50 of them. Type 1 lang po yan. May isang klaseng type diabetes pa. So ano nga bang mga diabetes types? Meron tayong type 1, type 2, and others. So ang type 1, yung sinabi ko nga kanina, insulin deficiency. Dahil nga nasira yung beta cell sa pancreas dahil sa mga iba't ibang sanhi. Yung type 2 naman, meron kang insulin pero hindi gumagana. Okay? Ngayon yung sinabi ko nga, kapag buntis ka at pag may diabetes ka, ang tawag doon gestational diabetes. At meron pang iba. Hindi na natin tatalakayin yan today. So ang focus natin today, type 1 diabetes mellitus. Siguro narinig nyo na yung pangalan na juvenile diabetes or insulin-requiring diabetes mellitus. Those are the same, although hindi na po natin ginagamit ngayon. Pero pag narinig nyo yun, yun ang ibig sabihin. Okay? So before we go into further discussion, siguro let's discuss ano ba talaga ang role ng insulin sa katawan natin. So sinabi ko galing siya sa pancreas. Anong gumagawa ng insulin? Yung beta cells. So anong function niya? So si insulin, tutulungan niya pumasok yung glucose na kinuha natin sa pagkain o gumagawa tayo sa katawan para pumasok sa cells. Sa cells, yun ang magpo-process ng glucose para maging energy. Kung baga tawagin natin sa biochemistry, ATP. Okay? At ito ang gagamitin ng brain, heart, lungs, muscles, nerves to do their functions. Ano pang second function niya? Kapag may extra glucose, ire-reserba niya as glycogen. Doon niya gagawin yon sa liver. Ngayon, pangatlo, pag napasobra naman ang kain natin, sobrang masarap. Lalo na pag maraming carbohydrates, magiging taba po yon. Si insulin din po ang gumawa nun. Pang-apat, si insulin din po ang nagsistimulate ng protein synthesis. Kaya nga ang tawag sa insulin, anabolic or to build up. So, ito yung sinabi ko sa inyo. Tuwing kakain tayo, almusal, tanghalian, hapunan, at pag nagmerienda pa tayo, tataas talaga blood sugar natin. So, syempre, ang katawan natin, bilang kailangan natin si insulin, magre-release din siya ng insulin. Pero ano nangyayari pag may diabetes type 1 ka? Si pancreas na beta cells, hindi nag-fail na siya, kulang na yung beta cells na naggagawa ng insulin. Kaya tinan mo, pancreas failure to produce enough insulin due to loss of beta cells. O dahil wala nga siyang insulin, yung glucose na nanggaling sa kinain natin o ginawa ng katawan natin, hindi makakapasok sa cells. So ngayon, hindi siya makakagawa ng energy. So, meanwhile, yung glucose na yun ang magpapataas ng blood sugar natin above the normal range. So, ang next tanong, saan ba galing yung type 1 diabetes na yan? Actually, sa totoo lang, hindi talaga nila maswak, hindi nila alam talaga eksakto, pero meron na silang mga possible agents. Ito yung yung tatlong talagang iniisip ng mga researchers at saka ang mga doktor. Una muna is infection, specifically enterovirus, rotavirus, cytomegalovirus. Bakit sila? Kasi sila ang gumagawa ng autoimmune cells na kinakalaban si beta cells. Okay? Tapos pangalawa, yung autoantibodies, sinisira nga si beta cells, kumukulang tuloy yung ating insulin. Pangatlo, yung genetics po. Meron po talagang population na meron silang, kumbaga, genetic predisposition. You were born with it. Okay? So, ito yung ebidensya bakit sinabi natin si type 1A autoimmune disorder. Dahil 85 to 90% of individuals na may elevated fasting blood sugar, positive siya sa mga autoimmune markers na associated with type 1 diabetes. So, bakit naman natin sinabi may genetic predisposition yan? Dahil marami na pong silang na isolate na genes na associated with diabetes. Pag sinabi natin associated, may mga taong may diabetes na may genes na yun. Pero hindi ibig sabihin, pag may gene na to, ito yun. Yun lang ang sinasabi nila. Kaya they're working on it. Let's be patient, no? More than 40 distinct genomic locations have been identified na associated siya sa type 1 diabetes. Pero yung pinakamalakas na association talaga is ito. Pag meron kang HLA marker sa chromosome 6 na ito, most likely, mataas ang risk mo mag-develop ng type 1 diabetes. So ito na yung sinabi na hypothesis nila. So meron kang bacteria o may trigger, ang gagawin niya, activate niya yung immune system mo. Okay? Ganun naman talaga ang ginagawa ng katawan natin. Pag may bagong pumasok sa atin, kakalabanin natin. Di ba? Problema, sobra ang kalaban nitong immune system natin. Bukod sa kalaban sa bacteria, sinisira din niya yung ating beta cells. Ngayon, kung normal ka, wala kang predisposition, you will completely recover. You will not become diabetic. But if you belong to that small population of individuals who will have that predisposition, sorry po, you're going to have progressive destruction of your beta cells. And when 80 to 90% nasira, you will begin to show the signs of type 1 diabetes. So may mga risk factors silang iniisip, but family history is quite prominent. If you have a mother or a father or worse, both, mas mataas ang risk mo. Number 2, if you have family members, I'm not talking yung malayo na, I'm talking about brother, parent, or grandparent. So 3 generations, no? Kapag meron silang autoimmune disease like autoimmune thyroiditis, Graves' disease, SLE, yung mga rheumatic fever, yung not rheumatic fever, rheumatoid disorders, those are high-risk individuals. So, kailangan bantayan. Now, sa environment, research is showing that baka lang, risk factor si obesity. Definitely for type 2, yes. But for type 1, then, tinitingnan din kung maayos yung ating gut microbiome. Kung kumakain ka ba ng gulay, di gaganda yung microbiome mo. So, these are still under study. So, possible but not yet sure. But the most frequent manifestations of type 1 diabetes in children, weight loss, polyuria, ihi ng ihi, kahit sa gabi, dapat tulog na sila, ihi pa rin ng ihi. I'm talking about those children who are already dry, hindi man babies, no? Pangatlo, polydipsia, meaning inom ng inom. So, ito dapat ang siguro sa mga doctors out there, especially yung mga nasa emergency room situation, kapag dumating ang isang pasyente sa emergency room, sobrang dehydrated. Bukod sa dehydration, ihi pa rin ng ihi. Di ba dapat pag dehydrated ka, hindi ka na ihi ng ihi? Pag dehydrated ka na, ihi ka pa rin ng ihi. Tapos pag ang paghinga niya ay parang sobrang malalim, parang ay, ganyan. So that's what you call takipnea with deep sighing respiration. O meron din siyang parang hindi makakain, sakit ang tiyan, kung minsan nga akala na appendicitis, at saka medyo tutulog-tulog, masungit, galit sa nanay, bakit kami nandito? So if you see one or two or three of these signs, you have to think of not only diabetes but a possible complication or a step higher than diabetes, which is diabetic ketoacidosis. So pag sinabi nating diabetic ketoacidosis, ito yung mga symptoms dahil may mga nag-accumulate na sa blood nila na hindi dapat nandun. So number one, sobrang mataas ang blood sugar nila. Kadalasan nakikita namin ang blood sugar po nila mga 600 na po. And then yung acidosis, ibig sabihin nag-accumulate po sila ng acids. Pag kinunan ng blood po, yung pH nila po mas mababa na po sa 7.3. Mild pa nga yun, yung super bad, less than 7. Yung bicarbonate na less than 18. Ang normal po nito, 22 to 28. And ketonemia or ketonuria. Basically, ito biochemical definition. Pero pag nakita nyo na po itong mga symptoms na to, please, you have to act fast. Okay? Hindi na pwede, ay, hydrate lang natin yan. Kunin nyo kaagad ang blood sugar. Okay? Meron din namang mga bata na nandyan sa outpatient, pag-uusapan po ni Dr. Angge mamaya to, yung mga dapat suspetsahan nyo na rin. Biglang, dati hindi man umiihi, ngayon gumigising na sa gabi para lang umihi. O kaya worse, hindi nagigising, umiihi na sa kama. Number 2, kain naman ng maayos, hindi ho, naglo-lose pa rin ng weight. Pangatlo, hindi nag-gain ng weight. O kaya, ang galing-galing sa school, tapos parang they lost interest, they're kind of sleepy, or low energy, or they have recurrent skin infections or vaginal candidiasis. No? So think about diabetes in these instances. So how did you confirm? So gawa ka ng either random blood sugar or fasting blood sugar. So paglampas na po siya ng 126 milligrams per deciliter, nandun na siya sa range ng diabetes. HbA1c greater than or equal to 6.5, diabetes. Halimbawa, nandun kayo sa lugar na hindi kayo makakagawa niyan. Urinalysis po. Pag nakita niyo na po yung glucose at ketones, naku, dalhin niyo na po sa ospital, paggawa niyo na po yung FBS or sugar at saka HbA1c. Nakakatulong po si C-peptide serological markers but not for the immediate management. Pang sabi lang sa parents, o sige ma'am, panghabang buhay po to, o ma'am, talaga pong type 1 diabetes ito. But they are not really necessary for the immediate diagnosis and treatment. So, syempre, walang insulin, ang gamot, insulin, di ba? So, on this slide, you will see there are 4 types of insulin that I listed. And it is dependent on how soon they act in the body, what is the peak action, and how long do they stay in the body. So I highlighted 1 and 4 because that is for us, endocrinologists, maybe the best method short of an insulin pump for children. Why do we say that? The long-acting or basal insulin will give you a steady state of insulin to take care of basal glucose metabolism. Okay? So kahit kasi hindi tayo kumakain, gumagawa tayong asukal kasi nga kailangan ni utak. Di ba? So, ito naman si ultra short, onset in 15 minutes, peaks in 1 hour, out of the system in 4 hours. So ito po yung binibigay natin tuwing kakain si baby. O hindi si baby, si bata. Okay? Di ba? Kakain naman tayo 3 times a day. So yun ang gagawin natin. Now, that will take care of the immediate meal, especially the carbohydrate load. And the idea is we want to keep the blood sugars within the normal range so that we prevent, so that they feel good, they'll grow well, and so that we prevent complications. Ngayon, ano naman itong si short-acting as well as intermediate? Ginagamit pa rin naman yan. The advantage is they're actually cheaper and they're more readily available. Unfortunately, they do not, how do you put it? in terms of physiological response, you have to give them, for example, twice a day, and then kailangan yung pagkain ng bata, naka-schedule. Hindi pwedeng kakain siya ng breakfast ng 6 o'clock, ang next meal niya kakain po siya ng 3 o'clock. Hindi pwedeng ganon. Kasi nga, because of the peak of action and the duration of action. But it can still be used. And in fact, most of our patients in PGH, we use this because this is what is affordable. And this is probably more practical because we only inject twice a day. We give a possible one at lunch kung mataas ang blood sugar. So, okay? So, paano binibigay? So, this is what I was talking about. Pag rapid, makikita mo onset 15 minutes, out of the system in 4 hours. Pag basal, meron kang sustained insulin to take care. Pero pag regular, ito po yung kanilang action. Regular, peak, and out in the system in 8 hours. Intermediate, out in the system 16 to 18 hours. How do you give insulin? May choices ka. Pwede ka syringe and needle. Pwede ka mag-insulin pump. Yung mga insulin pens, no? Regular lang, idadial mo lang, lagyan mo ng karayom. And ito po yung insulin pump. So for those who know how to count their carbohydrates, for those who are able to afford, then this is probably a good one to do. So kung magmaritas tayo ng konti, si Gary Valenciano, ganito po yung ginagamit niya. Okay? So saan tayo nag-i-inject? Sa arms, abdomen, legs, so at ito sa buttocks din po. So syempre, hindi naman araw-araw nandun nakadikit sa'yo yung pasyente mo. So, tinuturuan po namin sila kung paano nila bibigay yung insulin at paano nila i-modify yung dose based on the blood sugar. So, dapat pagka-diagnose natin sa kanila, uuwi po sila, meron po silang glucose meter o meron din silang iuuwi na tinatawag natin na device na pwede mag-monitor ng blood sugar many times in a day. So ito yung usual. So you have a glucose meter, may strip po kayo, piprick nyo yung daliri, kukuha kayo ng drop of blood, lalagay nyo sa strip, tapos babasahin nyo yung blood sugar level doon. And based on blood sugar level, you can give the insulin dose that is appropriate for that meal. Okay? Ngayon, so tiyan mo yung bata, ganon. Tapos, meron din, ito yung pinakabago, no? The only, well, there are two, no? There's the Dexon and there's also yung Libre. So, may mga sensor, dinidikit po to sa skin ng bata. It stays there for 14 days. And you have a reader, ito po yun, yung para siyang cellphone, ito po. So, ididikit nyo lang po, magbibigay na po siya ng reading. So, very advantageous po ito. Yun nga lang, ang problema is a little bit pricey, no? Just to give you an idea, if you want to buy the one kit, it's about 8,000 pesos. Okay? But it gives you really very good readings that can help you modify and treat your patients better. So the management of diabetes type 1, you have to give insulin, you have to monitor the sugar and ketones. Definitely proper diet is important, regular exercise, and diabetic education. So I put this here because dun sa education, hindi lang role ng doktor yan. The family has to understand and they have to continuously understand what diabetes does to their family and to their child. So these are our team. We now also talk to the teachers, to the mga yayas in school, their classmates, so that they understand what their classmate is also going through. So it's really a whole team effort to help this child with diabetes do well and control his diabetes better. So proper food management. Naalala niyo yung pinggang Pinoy, di ba? Ganun din yon. So sa pinggang Pinoy, we talk about 1/4 plate is carbohydrate, 1/4 plate is protein, and we also have a lot of vegetables and fruits. But in the diabetic, hindi masyado maraming fruits. Meron din, pero hindi ganun kadami. Mas marami po ang fiber na leafy. Remember, yung plato po, 9-inch plate lang po, hindi ho 12-inch, no? And right now, you have to work with a dietitian. And generally, yung ginagamit po na proportions are, because these are growing children who need their carbohydrates, hindi po pwede low-carb diet dito. Kailangan 45 to 50% complex carbohydrates, 15 to 20% proteins, yung rest po ay fats and fibers. So, no treatment is without complications. So, with insulin therapy, you need to monitor because pag binigay mo sobra, nagkamali, o parang, alam mo yung mga teenagers, para lang makakain, so sobrahan po nila yung kanilang insulin, low blood sugar po ang kalaban natin. Low blood sugar is just as bad as high. Pag low, pwede pong maging comatose yung bata. Okay? Pag pag seizure. Not enough insulin naman, masyadong maraming kinain, nagtitipid sa insulin, o kaya, alam mo, iba't ibang isip ng mga teenager na may diabetes, uncontrolled, o uuwi tayo doon sa diabetic ketoacidosis na ayaw nating mangyari. Okay? Long term, ano ba yung tinitingnan natin? This is the list, so it can affect your brain because if you don't have enough, you have too high sugars, it actually causes a metabolic dysregulation in your brain. Your kidneys can have permanent damage. You can steal protein. You can have not only bad bones, bad skin. Then you can have problems also with your nerves, your eyes, your heart. So let's take care of your diabetic. As I tell most patients, diabetics are not PWD, but they will become PWD if you do not take care of their diabetes. Okay? So how well did I do? Let's have a knowledge check. Game na ba kayo? Okay lang ba? Sige. Put on your thinking caps. Let's talk about, pwede bang maawat si diabetes? Let's talk about Maria, 8 years old female. Ang history niya, grade 2 student with good academic performance, healthy, sabi ni nanay. Pero napansin ni mommy, 1 week na, ihi ng ihi, gising ng gising si Maria, ihi ng ihi. Naaasab na nga kasi inaantok sa umaga. She's always thirsty, she has a hearty appetite, she has not gained weight in the last 3 months, pero wala siyang lagnat. Okay? So si mommy, casually lang sinabi niya, kasi pinapak-check up niya sa akin, yung kanyang kapatid na may Graves' disease. Dok, alam mo, yung kapatid nito, ihi ng ihi. Kakatakot ba yon? Sabi niya sa akin. So as the physician, what is the most appropriate action? Ano sasabihin ko kay mami? Ox lang yan, mams. Nag-ano lang yung anak mo para nagpapapansin kasi hindi mo pinapansin yung isa na your attention to Alwan. Or I'll schedule Maria for a check-up kasi full yung clinic ko that day. Or bibigyan ko siya ng lab request for urinalysis. Sana you are one with me and you will give this mother a lab request for a urinalysis, which I did. So the next day, eto na siya. In-email lang niya. Meron +4 glucose, may ketones, wala naman, sa awa ng Diyos, walang urinary tract infection. Tapos, walking around, pumasok pa si Maria, pero masungit. Okay? So what is the most appropriate management? Ang gagawin ko, nakita ko, naku, may sugar, may ketones sa wiwi. O diba, sinabi ko, sugar, oo. Tapos ketones, naku, DKA ba to? Diba? So, anong gagawin natin? Pwede ba natin gawin to? Mami, bili ka ng Hydrate, i-dissolve mo yan sa 200 ml na tubig, tapos painumin mo, siguro mga 4 na beses, and then repeat mo urinalysis. Or, check mo blood glucose with HbA1c. Or, admit workup for diabetes. Sana meron tayong interaction, no? I could have asked you. But anyways, kung ang sagot nyo hydrate with Hydrate and repeat urinalysis, sad ako. Kasi isipin mo, 4+4 glucose na yan, ketones na yan, may kapatid pa siya na may autoimmune. Talagang you have to say, oops, hindi na to pwedeng i-manage sa bahay. Pwede niyang inumin ngayon, pero dapat dumiretso na siya sa ER. Check blood glucose and HbA1c. If you have a glucose meter in your facility or you're in a hospital setting, pwede mo siya padala. Ma'am, pagawa niyo na po ito. Kasi most parents will refuse to go to the emergency room. Sabi nila, mahal, ang daming doktor, kung ano-ano pang makuha ng anak ko. So you have to kind of prove that. So pwede na rin answer ito. Basta magagawa nyo within the hour. Kasi medyo impending DKA na ito. This would be the best answer. Tell the mom she has to be admitted and work up for diabetes. Glucosuria and ketonuria are highly suggestive of diabetes and impending dehydration. So in summary, if you suspect diabetes, do your fasting blood sugar or random blood sugar and an HbA1c. Pag less than 100, okay ka pa. Ito pre-diabetic ka. Ito diabetic. How do you manage diabetes? Anong goal natin? Maintain good blood sugar para ma-prevent si DKA. Bigyan ng always be adequately hydrated. Ensure good growth and normal development in these children because they can live a normal life, actually, all the way till 100 years old if we just took care of their diabetes better. And we can delay the long-term complications and comorbidities. Anong action steps? Appropriate insulin dose. Malalaman lang yan kung nag-check at siya nagpapa-check up. Number 2, balanced diet and food portions. Kalimutan nyo na yung mga masyadong matatamis. Okay? Number 3, daily exercise. Number 4, patient and family education. Get them to help you. They are your eyes and ears at home. And definitely collaborative management. So with that, I would like to say thank you very much for your kind attention and I look forward to your questions later.
Okay, maraming salamat po, Dr. Babu. Comments from the classmate po muna bago tayo.
Putting on the spot ka naman, grabe
very
ka.
excellent lecture. Ang dami ko ding natutunan. Siyempre, hindi naman ako diabetologist, so talagang some of the information are quite new to me. So anyway, I'm sure we have questions from the floor.
We'll tackle them later, ma'am, kasi we have
Later.
reactor lang po.
Sige,
So
later
we'll
pala.
get to our reactor po, Dr. Babu, and we'll call you later po during the Q&A.
Okay.
Apa. Before we go into our next reactor and introduce our our reactor, I'll just like to greet those who are joining us. As mentioned, we are being joined for both domestically and internationally po, no. Those viewing us from the Dr. Ando B. Cope Memorial Hospital in Albay, Lapu-Lapu Cebu International College in Lapu-Lapu City in Cebu, the Newborn Screening Center in Northern Luzon in Batac, Ilocos Norte, Mayor Hilarion A. Ramiro Sr. Medical Center in Ozamis City, Misamis Occidental, City Health Office of Himamaylan City in Negros Occidental. There are those also entering po there in the chat. There were about viewing us from Bataan, from Los Baños, Laguna, from the City Health Office of Antipolo. Maraming salamat po. From Quezon City, thank you so much. From Davao, from Marilao, Bulacan, thank you so much. And then there are those who are joining us all the way from other countries naman po. So we have those from Canadian Medical Center, Dubai, in Sharjah, United Arab Emirates. Also, our colleagues from the Chuanin Hospital in Taipei City, Taiwan, as well as in OSH, I think this is the Occupational Safety and Health po, no? OSH Solution Guam in Tamuning in Guam. And there are those greeting us from the University of Hail in Hail Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, from California in the United States. Thank you so much. And there are colleagues naman po joining us from Timor-Leste. So, and then from Makati rin po. So, maraming salamat po. And we'll go ahead to and I'll introduce our reactor po, no? One of our speakers po, also known in the field. She is a medical specialist too at the Division of Ambulatory Pediatrics, also from the Philippine General Hospital's Department of Pediatrics. Please welcome po, Dr. Angelica Tomas.
Thank you, Dr. Sarmiento, for the introduction. And thank you again also, Dr. Estrada, for the very comprehensive and actually also simplifying, I guess, to us general practitioners, no, what diabetes is. So I just have a very short reaction. Okay, so I would like to react in terms to the lecture of Dr. Estrada in terms of general pediatrician or general healthcare provider. So in our clinic, no, so like when a patient visits us and we're screening, no, for possible diseases or diabetes, no, what are some of the questions that we would like to ask in the clinic visit? So I think very important is the nutritional history of the patient, no. So like what Ma'am Babu said kanina, no, so parang is the patient breastfed kasi parang meron siyang protective or parang it decreases, no, the chance of diabetes. And also asking what is the current diet of the patient, no. So I think very important, especially now na medyo mahilig talaga yung mga kids sa fast food or junk food, no? So it's very important to get this part of the history, the pediatric history. And then next is the past medical history of the patient, no? So did the patient have any previous hospitalizations or any recent illnesses, no, na might be important, no, when we are screening for diabetes. And ito, no, so Ma'am Babu also discussed, no, the very strong family history of diabetes, no, so especially type 1 diabetes, no, so we also have to ask this sa when we're taking the history of our patients. And I think also birth and maternal history can also be an important uh, it's also important, no, when we're also doing our pediatric history. Immunization history, no, so kanina sinabi nga ni Ma'am Babu also, no, parang some infections can predispose or can also be a cause of type 1 diabetes. And I want to point out lang, no, that rotavirus, we already give it as part of our immunizations, no, for our patients. So I think it's very important, no, that to check if complete nga yung immunization history nila. And then, of course, when we're doing the physical examination, for us, no, as a general pediatrician, it's very important to always get the weight, the height, and also the BMI of our patients. And hindi lang yung sa one-time visit, but also to really plot it dun sa mga growth charts natin to see how our patients are doing. Okay. And then next, no, so when to suspect if a child has diabetes and when do we refer? So as part of the history taking, no, so we would like to ask, no, parang does the child have general body malaise, headache, weakness? Sometimes actually, no, parang it's really hard also to get, no, kung parang part ba to ng diabetes na, or is this just parang part of syndrome or other illnesses, no? And then katulad din ng sinabi ni Dr. Estrada, no? So irritability in a parang previously well child, or if the child suddenly becomes ill-tempered, is also very important to check, no, when we're doing the screening. Also, any recent, no, episodes of polyuria in the patient and nocturia, which can lead to enuresis in a previously continent child, no, is a very important point that we have to check in our history. Also, polydipsia, yung increased thirst, as Dr. Estrada said, and also weight loss, no. So although the child's appetite usually remains good, or parang the child is eating well, but there is presence of weight loss, so that's also important, no, to really check. And then Dr. Estrada also said, no, yung mga skin infections and then the vaginal candidiasis. So that's those are also things that we have to suspect if a child has diabetes, and then maybe we already have to refer to our friendly pediatric endocrinologist like Dr. Estrada. And then in terms of kunyari sa follow-up naman, no, if the child is already diagnosed to have type 1 diabetes mellitus, so what can us as healthcare providers do, or what can us a general pediatrician do? No? So still very important that during their well child visits with us, no, so they do regular follow-ups, and then when they're doing the follow-ups, we also check their diet, any physical activity or exercise that they're doing, and also, like I said, no, earlier, to complete their immunizations or to catch up any lacking immunizations. And then, of course, very important, like what Dr. Estrada said, coordinated or collaborative care with the pediatric endocrinologist. And then maybe also just some lifestyle modifications, just to reiterate yung sinabi na ni Dr. Estrada kanina, that we as general pediatricians or healthcare providers can continue to advise our patients, no? So I know medyo mahirap talaga to, no, especially in the pediatric population, pero it's very important din kasi to really educate the parents or the caregivers why we advise these things, no? So as much as possible, eliminates sugar-containing drinks, no, and foods made of refined simple sugars, no. So kunyari, especially now, balik na sa school yung mga kids, no. So syempre minsan mahirap mag-isip ng baon, no, but as much as possible, kung hindi talaga water na lang, or maybe fresh juices, no, and avoid lang yung mga refined simple sugars, no, like yung mga candies or yung mga baked goods, no, na medyo talagang high in sugar. And also discourage skipping meals and encourage eating meals on a schedule. So ito, we always really try to advise, no, sana talagang as a family, no, para talagang regular yung meal times, and then as much as possible, no, without distractions, no, from other activities, like minsan kasi nakabukas yung TV or yung computer, or sometimes the kids are playing their video games. And then avoid grazing on food throughout the day, no? So as much as possible, yung nga, para may regular meal time and snack time. Also control portion size. So Dr. Estrada showed us the Pinggang Pinoy. So sabi nga niya, no, like sa food, no? So tama nga ba, ma'am? 9-inch lang yung plate. So not bigger than that. And then as much as possible, limit high fat, high calorie foods in the home. No? So especially if we're able to prepare naman home cooked meals. So as much as possible, yung nga, limit yung mga high fat. And increase fiber intake by eating more vegetables and fruits. Although Ma'am Babu also said be cautious also with fruits, no? Kasi some of the fruits are medyo mataas din sa sugar. And we also advise our patients to increase their physical activity to 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity at least 3 times per week, pero preferably mga 5 to 7 days talaga, no? So that's really the week, no? So hindi naman parang kailangan 60 minutes na dire-diretso. They can like divide it into 30 minutes or 20 minutes, no, throughout the day, kasi medyo nakakapagod din kunyari yung buong 60 minutes. And of course, no, as a general pediatrician, we always advise to limit the screen time to less than 2 hours a day. So this would include any screen time, no? So television, non-educational computer time, cell phone use, and other handheld devices, and also video games. So I think that's my last slide for my reaction to Dr. Estrada's lecture.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dr. Angge. Very important po, no? Especially yung last slide po na meron pong 8 pointers. Iano ko lang po yun. Ididikit lang po natin kasi I think we're able to play now our person on the street video po, no? Just a recap po the questions that we post to our interviewees. May kakilala po ba kayong mga batang may diabetes? Paano kaya sila na-diagnose? Ano-ano kanilang mga ginagawa para magamot ang kondisyong ito at ano-ano ang mga sintomas na dapat bantayan at mga kailangan ng konsultasyon sa doktor. Please watch this.
May anak po akong may diabetes.
Nagkaroon po ako ng kakilala, sir, nung ito pong nagkaroon yung anak ko po. Pero nung dati po kasi wala eh. Meron akong kakilala yung sa side ng papa ko, sa side ng father ng anak ko, yung mga malalaki na po kasi nga lahi po nilang merong diabetic po.
Sa mga sintomas po, hirap sa paghinga, masakit yung likod, tapos palaging umiihi, palaging gutom. Tapos, lagi po akong uhaw.
Ano po, bumabagsak yung katawan niya. Lagi siyang uhaw, laging gutom. Tapos nanghihina po siya. Yun na yung niya, yun pala yun, may diabetes pala siya.
Nung napansin po kasi na 8 years old siya, napansin namin siya, biglang bumagsak yung katawan niya. As in yung parang may TB siya, sobrang payat. Tapos, wiwi siya ng wiwi, kahit gabi wiwi siya ng wiwi, hindi siya nakakatulog. Sa anak ko po kasi, sir, type 1 diabetic po yung sa kanya.
DKA, type 1 diabetes. Ketoacidosis. Insulin, umaga at saka gabi yung pagturok ng insulin. Sa naman, sa mga bawal, kailangan talaga marami siyang bawal. Maraming bawal sa mga, sa kanya. Yung mga matatamis.
Huwag laging umiinom na soft drinks. Tapos, kumakain ng maalat. At saka matamis po.
Po, nung inano ng endo niya po, bali, inject po sa kanya insulin, check po kami ng sugar, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, depende po kasi minsan mapapansin mo sa bata kung may nararamdaman o wala eh. Yung po kasi niya, yung inject po ng insulin 2 times a day, Ang maintenance niya po ay 70-30 ng insulin. Tapos kung medyo tumaas yung sugar niya, na-advise ni doc na mag-risky po siya. Yun po yung ano, pag mataas po yung sugar niya.
Kapag ang anak mo ay madalas umiihi, laging uhaw, laging gutom, tapos nangangayayat siya, bumabagsak ang katawan, kailangan madala sa doktor, sa ospital. Kasi yun na yung symptoms ng diabetes.
Ano, yung sa pagbagsak ng katawan niya, ayun, siyempre magugulat tayo, ba't biglang bagsak ng katawan niya? Yun po yung dapat natin bantayan sa mga anak natin. Kasi pag may ganun pong symptoms, parang siyempre tayong bilang magulang, mababahala na tayo. Magtataka kung ba't ganun na po yung anak natin. Pa-check up na po natin para maagapan po. Kasi pag hindi po maagapan, nagkakaano agad eh. Kumbaga hindi kinakaya nung bata eh. Yung effect po sa kanya ng sobrang taas ng sugar.
We'll call in po Dr. Babu and Dr. Angge for questions that we have. Some of them have already been answered po dito sa ating Q&A. First question will be thrown po by Dr. Stella.
For the lecture of Dr. Babu Estrada, I was just thinking, no, kasi some patients they don't, some parents they don't have their child vaccinated, no, kaya I think that's really dangerous, no, especially if kunyari magkaroon siya ng mga infection na rotavirus. So how do you convince your patients to have them vaccinated?
Thank you for that question. No, very practical. It's true. Many parents have many fears. Okay, I just reiterate to them that immunizations are part of really the guidelines for the wellness of their children, and therefore, if they would I also say na if they get sick and they're diabetic, their diabetes becomes more poorly controlled, and they're going to have a hard time. Pwede pa sila ma-ospital. So when I give them that, ganun pala, doc. So I kind of tell them, like mga 10 years old, are you updated? I always ask, who's your primary pediatrician? If they say local health center, okay, bumalik kayo doon. Kailangan by this time, ito yung mga bakuna nyo. So when I tell them that the worst case scenario is pag nagkasakit yung anak nila, lalala yung diabetes nila at pwede sila magka-DKA, I think that's the convincing sentence. Ma-ospital, ayaw nila yun.
In the ER, you see many patients there brought by their moms na ang ginagamit nila sugared water. Nakakakita pa rin ako ng mga ganon, ano. So I think we really should educate the parents mostly kasi yun, akala nila they're doing good pero actually they're not.
That's true. Tama yun, Stel. Sugar water pa rin sila. The worst I saw was they put, alam mo yung coffee mate sa parang gatas, yun. And that's also high glycemic index. Plus, ang mahal niya, di ba? To make it look like milk, but actually it's not.
Yes. Also for Dr. Angge. So it's really a good thing na there's good interaction between the pediatric endocrinologist and the general pediatrician. In your practice, what percent of patients have you detected children with diabetes? Marami kang nami-meet na ganon?
So far wala pa hong, I think siguro mga 2 pa lang yung na-refer ko sa pediatric endocrinologist. So usually yung like I said, so talaga very important yung history, and then of course checking the signs and symptoms of the patient to really parang see kung may problem nga. And then sometimes the parents then especially those na medyo may idea na rin, so sila na rin yung parang they also share their concern. So sasabihin nila, and of course if there's also a high family history, so yun yung parang mga talaga medyo madaling parang ma-detect sa clinic.
Thank you for your answer. Si Raymond, baka sa chat box meron nagko-question.
No, I'm just scanning din po, no. Well, I'll answer the question. Yes, there will be a replay po, no. If there will be a link in the YouTube po. So I'll mention it towards the end kung saan nyo po mahahanap yung link po to the playback of this webinar po natin. Questions din po would be, is it common po ba na pag pumasok, nagpatingin po yung mga pasyente, marami po kayong mga misconceptions daw po? And how, maybe the question po is, how often do you encounter such questions po? Kasi I think there's still some, how do you call it? Parang I think there are some lingering doubts po, no, in terms of having diabetes sa mga bata po, especially yung type 2, Dr. Ababo.
Thank you for your question. Actually, tama ka dyan, Raymond, no? The first reaction I get is, Dok, bata pa siya, ah. Meron na bang ganon? Parang ako, opo, meron na po. That's more common yung mga sa type 2. Parang they cannot believe that this is a different topic. Obesity is another growing concern. I know we talked about type 1 because we didn't have time to talk about type 2, but obesity is a growing concern, and I'd just like the audience to know that that's going to be our next problem, no? The rise of type 2 diabetes in children. And the first reaction I get from parents is, Dok, ang bata pa niya. Lalo na when I start telling them we need to start already on this medication, they'll say, pwede mang ano na lang, parang dun lang sila na mag-a-act na they'll have to start dieting. I said, we can try, but let me tell you, masyado mataas na yung insulin level nila. We have to do this already. But that's really, that's one. They think that diabetes is only for adults, and that number 2, when you give insulin, it destroys the organs. So we have to correct that, which is why we also have a lot of teaching brochures for them. And each time they come, I always also instruct our fellows, no, and our residents na, alam mo, ang diabetes, chronic condition yan. And each time they come, it's like the parents look at you like you're telling them for the first time. Para paulit-ulit ka. So until it becomes second nature na to them. So I always try to ask na lang at the end of the clinic or even at the start, Mami, may concern ba kayo? Anong pagkaintindi nyo? Let's say we analyze the sugars. So, and anong ginawa nyo dito? So kasi it's also my way of thinking, siguro they don't understand this part. Kasi syempre, una-muna shock sila. May diabetes ang anak nila. Pangalawa, sa bahay nataranta na sila kasi they have to change all their habits, di ba? They like to give all these cookies and all this sweet stuff as merienda, di ba? So I have to tell them, naku mami, kailangan yung mga juice na yan. This is my biggest issue kasi maybe Angge, you can comment on this, or even Stella. Many schools will insist that their children will eat merienda, even if the kid is not hungry. So parang, so the mom, I'll tell the mom kasi let's say obese na, or kaya let's say diabetic, hindi naman kailangan. The mom said, Dok, kasi sabi ng teacher, kailangan may merienda. So that's, I don't know how to do that. So parang, gagawin yan. Ewan ko nakikita mo yan, Angge.
Lalo na sa mga nursery schools. Yung talaga
Yes,
palaging may merienda.
Oo, tapos ang favorite merienda nila yung cookies, di ba? Tapos with
Yes,
juice.
Saka juice.
Juice, yes.
Zesto na
The
yan.
juice talaga. Yes.
So these are all sugar. So when I try to tell them, Mommy, pwede naman ang merienda boiled egg, or pwede naman siomai, o pwede kaya small sandwich, parang, parang it's so foreign to them. I don't know, that's one of our biggest challenges, really parang reorienting the family to their eating habits. And I always tell them, alam mo, sa Pilipinas lang tayo kumakain 6 times a day.
Totoo.
Ewan ko.
Is there an association or a group na on this subject? I mean, yung diabetes in children. Meron na ba kayong organization?
Parang parent, there are many what happens as endocrinologists, every year we hold a diabetes camp. Okay, and generally in that diabetes camp we have half a day or maybe 1/4 day a session with the parents. But kasi the rest of the camp, the idea is to teach the child to be independent. So we have that session. That's one way we do it. Then we also have diabetes awareness. And then what I saw helps actually are yung mga parents of diabetics for me who live more or less in the same area and are willing to share or with their, let's say, I have a new diabetic, can I talk with another parent? Then I have some parents who are very willing to parang guide this new mom. So ganun na lang we have. Pero so to answer your question, Stella, meron tayong Juvenile Diabetes Foundation, but I don't think it's a very active parent support group. So I don't know. Are you aware, ikaw, Raymond or Angge?
I haven't really heard
Oo.
of it. Pero there are, ma'am, we've been able to monitor po that there are Facebook groups for that. Not entirely sure how active they are. So yun po yung ano natin. And really, I think there would be, I don't know if we will be meeting yung pong levels po that are in the Western world, like in the United States, ma'am. Sana hindi tayo umabot doon. But I think that's something that will be very, very helpful to keep track para lang po hindi po, yun nga po, hindi po tayo punta sa dakong paroon. Okay. So, Ma'am Stella, any questions before I move ahead with my
No
question naman
further
po?
questions.
Okay. Question po, kapag po ba may diabetes sa panganak yung nanay, nagkakaroon din po ba, or I think the question is there a risk of developing diabetes in the offspring? Yung bata daw po magkaka-diabetes dahil
Nakita ko rin yan.
gestational diabetes yung
Nakita ko
nanay.
yung question na yun. Sa chat.
Yes, oo. Good question. And yes, the studies have shown that mothers who have gestational diabetes put upon themselves plus the offspring about a 30% chance of becoming frankly diabetic in the future. So
The mom and the baby.
the mom and the baby.
And the
So
baby.
our biggest advice there is number one, we tell the mother from the start, yung supplemental feeding, one is we advocate for breastfeeding talaga. Breastfeeding, my classmate Stella is the iconic woman of breastfeeding.
May
Okay?
lecture na ako dito.
Anyway,
End of the month.
So anyway, that's really, we really go for that. The second is, I already tell them sa supplemental feeding pa lang, mommy, we need to start going what the people do. It's not only carbs, di ba? Pansinin niyo yung ating lugaw and patatas, when actually the guidelines say you have to give really a wide variety. Now you can already start with protein, with fish, with chicken, together with your vegetables and rice at the start of 6 months. So I think that's what I always tell parents. And then as much as possible, I tell them, remember, if you can, they will learn about sweets in school. Wag tanggalin nyo na yung sugar, yung juices at home. I always tell them this, na World Health does not want you to drink your fruit. They want you to eat your fruit. Okay? Kasi di ba yun ang feeling na, Doc, freshly squeezed orange juice naman to di ba? So yun. So tama yun, there really is a risk. Lalo na kapag diabetic na talaga si mommy. And in fact, very surprising, I don't know, Stella, if you've seen this, yung mga mothers who are frankly diabetic, it's difficult for them to conceive. And if
Yes.
diabetes
That's
poor, di ba?
true.
Poorly controlled, nagkakaroon sila ng mga congenital
Primary infertility. Kasi hindi nag-ovulate pagka ganyan. Pag diabetic, hindi walang ovulation. So, talagang
Right.
hirap sila to get pregnant. So,
So, yun. So another
really not-
reason to control their diabetes, di ba, Nostel?
Yes, oo. So, it's really, actually for the OB, it's also difficult, no? Lalo na if the patients are overweight and diabetic. Talagang parang mission impossible nga eh.
Oo.
Ang hirap. Kahit na anong i-advise mo, hindi naman nila nasusunod. It's really, kaya nga, it really starts as children. Doon talaga dapat tayo mag-focus eh. Kasi when they grow up, ganun na talaga. Hindi mo na makontrol.
Yeah.
That's the sad
Pero
part.
still, I will add
Padami
that.
ng padami ang patients nila bago.
Pero still, I will add also, I think malaki din ang role ng OB because if the in utero environment actually makes the health of the baby. So if we take care of our pre-pregnant to pregnant mothers well, then we can avoid yung mga small for gestational age, low birth weight, LGAs. So we gotta work together.
Yes, thank you. Oh, I think, Raymond, I have something to add.
Yes, I think last question na lang po, baka sabihin hindi ko po tinanong siya, but afterwards we'll have the closing po, no. How do syempre po yung mga bata and then they will be teenagers obviously. How do they deal, maybe you can relate po from a patient perspective. How do they deal with with all of these emotionally, mentally? Paano daw po ba 'yon? And is that something that's being shared with their doctors daw po?
Okay, yes, I think the adolescent diabetic is the most difficult to manage. A big factor is the family support. If they started the diabetes young, mga 6, 7 years old, and maganda yung support, the education was well given, and they parang may positive impact sa kanila, yung bata, then wala kami masyadong problema in adolescence. But by and large, maybe I would say 70% of my adolescent diabetics, 1, are pasaway. 2, it's not that they cannot afford, ha? They have the gadget to check their blood sugar. Yung nakadikit, hindi na nga sila magpiprick. Hindi nila gagawin. And when you ask them, they'll say, that's their favorite, anak. Okay? And then, may insulin, I have diabetics who nakakaawang parents kasi they give everything. They have the insulin, they have the support, kahit ano pwede. Ayaw niya gamitin yon kasi she wants to wear sleeveless and she doesn't want to show that. So I said, so how are you giving your insulin? Oh, I just estimate.
Grabe.
Oh my.
Shocking.
So, sometimes I give, if it always happens like this, we actually refer to an adolescent physician whom they will go once and never go again to. Then I've one patient who's been through an adolescent physician, a psychologist, a psychiatrist, back to another, nag-round robin na siya, has been in and out of the hospital of DK, wala pa rin. So I gave her the 3rd degree and I said to her, you know what, I think you're not really interested in your diabetes. Why do you even come to me? Would you like to see another doctor? Sabi sa kanya. Kasi parang, awa na ko.
Pasaway talaga.
Pasaway talaga. So, and then I had one patient, diabetic since 9 years old. And then, nung 18 years old na, I tell them as early as 16, you have to start looking for an adult endocrinologist. When you're 18, we're going to transition you. And then at 18, she said, Doc, I don't want pa to go. I said, why not? Sabi ko, you're not yet ready. Not yet. And then she said to me, I'll tell you something. Doc, yung mga record ko dyan, binola-bola ko lang naman yan. Sabi ko, at sino kaya linoko mo? Sabi ko sa kanya, ganun sit. So, that's the reason why in our last 2 camps sa PSPME, we focused on the adolescent and empowering them to take charge of their diabetes. We hope that we will be able to get them to do this sana more often. But in the last 2 camps, that's what we've been focusing. Kasi pag younger, madali kasi the parents are in charge, hindi mabait pa yung mga bata. Pero talagang that is a big challenge for the doctor, the family, and the primary attending like Angge. All of us, parang kasi ng adolescent, oh, they're ganging up on me. Parang ganon.
Opo.
Very
I'm
challenging.
really happy that Babu and Angge participated in this TVUP webinar. And by the way, it's going to be shown for the whole week next week. So others who were not able to watch now, they can still watch in TVUP Signal 101.
The pleasure.
Maraming matututunan dito sa webinar na to. Ayan, mga mami dyan, listen up. Baka kayo na yan.
Sana may audio na yung video. Kasi
Yes,
yung
ma'am. I think we'll be
video,
able to make that work when we recompile it in the YouTube
Ayusin namin.
and then in
Oo.
our Signal TV channel 101. I think that will be our last question po. I think we're a little bit over time, but maraming salamat po to the Department of Pediatrics, to their Chief of the Division of Pediatric Endocrinology, Dr. Silvia Estrada, Ma'am Babu, and from the Division of Ambulatory Pediatrics po, Dr. Angge Tomas. Maraming
Thank you.
salamat po.
congratulations. Ituloy nyo ha.
Yes, ma'am. Of course, of course. At this point po, we'll be asking everyone to participate po in our poll. So if we can have that launch on the screen, there are 5 questions, 4-point Likert scale. I'll read them and then we'll go to the closing. Panelists demonstrated thorough knowledge of the topic. Number 2, the panelists were well prepared and organized. Number 3, the panelists spoke clearly and audibly. Number 4, the panelists used appropriate language with technical medical jargons adequately explained. And number 5, finally, the panelists contributed to new perspectives and knowledge on managing various key health issues. So we will not be closing this until the end of the webinar. Ma'am Stella, what is our topic for next week, ma'am?
For next week, we have Dr. Denver Kyongson. He's a cardiologist and he's also
That's our ma'am, interventional cardiology topic po yata, no? I think.
yes, interventional cardiologist, and he willingly will share his knowledge on cardiology next week.
Okay, thank you so much po. Now, before we conclude our program, all health updates webinars are archived for viewing at the TVUP YouTube channel. So you go to www.youtube.com/TVUPPH. In the live tab, you'll be able to see all 204 webinars. After today, it will be 205. You can also watch this in Signal TV channel 101 din po in the playback. And also, we have what we call our health update shorts po. No? These are very short, consumable, selected presentations that we feature in snippets po. Doon naman po sa shorts tab, also in the TVUP YouTube channel. So this formally closes our webinar for the week. Magkita-kita po tayo again next Friday from 12 noon to 1 p.m. It's a day.
Together, we can prevent deaths.
So keep safe, keep healthy, and see you online.